Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every believer's life when the heavens seem silent, the road ahead looks uncertain, and the weight of trials feels unbearable. You pray, yet answers seem distant. You seek, yet doors remain closed. You strive, yet progress appears elusive. At such moments, it is easy to question, where is God in all of this? But I am here to tell you today that what you are facing is not the absence of God. It is the evidence that He is working in you, preparing you for something greater. Before every breakthrough, there is a test. Before every elevation, there is a season of refinement. And before every new level, there is a wilderness that must be endured. The question is not whether God is testing you. The real question is, will you recognize the test, endure the process, and come out victorious? Many of us desire breakthroughs, but we fail to recognize the signs that God is preparing us for it. We cry for promotion, but we do not discern the process required to receive it. If you are in a season where life seems harder than before, where prayers seem unanswered, and where challenges arise from every direction, I want you to listen closely. Because your breakthrough might be closer than you think. Today, I want to share with you 7 key signs that God is testing you before your breakthrough. These signs are not meant to break you, but to build you. They are not meant to harm you, but to prepare you. If you recognize these signs, you will not only endure the test, you will emerge victorious, ready to walk into your destiny. When everything seems to go wrong despite your faithfulness. There comes a time in the journey of faith when the more you pray, the harder life gets. The more you serve, the more trials you face. The more you seek God, the more obstacles seem to appear. Have you ever felt like the moment you committed to doing things God's way, life became more difficult? That is not a coincidence. It is a test. When you are on the verge of a breakthrough, the enemy intensifies his attacks, and God allows it to refine your faith. Consider Job, a man righteous before God, yet he lost everything in a single moment. His wealth, his family, and even his health were stripped away. But Job's suffering was not a sign of God's absence. It was a test that preceded double restoration. God often tests us in seasons where everything seems to go wrong, not because He wants to destroy us, but because He wants to see if we will remain faithful when there is no visible reward. Can you still worship when your prayers seem unanswered? Can you still trust when everything around you screams doubt? Can you still hold on when life gives you every reason to let go? The test of hardship is a test of perseverance. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. But if you endure, you will step into a testimony that only those who pass through the fire can declare. Every hardship before a breakthrough is an invitation to deeper trust, greater faith, and unwavering commitment to God's purpose. You see, breakthrough is not given to the weak, it is given to those who refuse to give up. God allows difficulties before breakthroughs because He is refining your heart, strengthening your resolve, and ensuring that when He blesses you, you will not be destroyed by the very thing you prayed for. If everything seems to be going wrong, do not panic. Lift your hands and say, God, I trust you, because your breakthrough is closer than you think. When doors keep closing, no matter how hard you try. Have you ever been in a season where every opportunity you pursue seems to slip through your fingers? You apply for jobs, but none call back. You start businesses, but they fail. You pursue relationships, but they fall apart. It feels like you are doing everything right, yet every door remains shut. When doors keep closing despite your best efforts, it is not always the enemy at work, it might be God testing you. Sometimes closed doors are divine redirections, meant to protect you from places you were never meant to be. God closes certain doors because He sees what we do not. He knows that not every opportunity aligns with His plan for your life. But the test is this: will you trust Him when He says no? Many people only trust God when He opens doors, but real faith is trusting Him when He closes them. Some doors are closed for your protection, others for your preparation. If Joseph had been given a shortcut to the throne, he would have missed the training that came through the prison. If David had skipped the wilderness, he would not have been ready to handle the weight of the kingdom. God tests us through closed doors to see if we will force our way through something He never ordained. Some of you are frustrated because you are trying to open what God has shut. But instead of being frustrated, ask God, what are you trying to teach me? When one door closes, it means a better one is being prepared. When doors keep closing, do not lose faith. Keep knocking, keep trusting, and keep believing. God is not denying you. He is redirecting you to something better. Your breakthrough is on the other side of your obedience to His no. When you feel alone and abandoned, a common sign that God is testing you before a breakthrough is when He seems silent and the people you relied on disappear. Have you ever entered a season where friends walk away, mentors stop answering, and the ones who used to support you suddenly vanish? You feel alone, abandoned, and misunderstood. This is not an accident. It is a test. Before God elevates you, He often isolates you. Why? Because He wants to remove distractions, test your dependence, and prepare you to stand alone if necessary. When Jesus was about to begin His ministry, the Spirit led Him into the wilderness, alone. When Joseph was nearing his breakthrough, he was forgotten in prison, alone. Loneliness is the breeding ground for revelation. It is in the silent seasons that God reveals Himself in ways you never knew before. If you are in a season of isolation, do not despise it. This is where God develops your character, deepens your faith, and strengthens your foundation. Sometimes God will remove people because they cannot go where He is taking you. Not everyone in your life is meant to be part of your next chapter. The test is this: will you trust God when the crowd disappears? The feeling of abandonment is painful, but it is a setup for transformation. When you feel alone, draw closer to God. When people walk away, press into His presence. What feels like rejection is often redirection. Your breakthrough will not come from people, it will come from God. When you face unusual opposition and attacks, ladies and gentlemen, whenever God is about to bring you into a breakthrough, opposition will intensify. It is not a coincidence that right before a new season, battles seem to multiply. Have you ever felt like the more you try to do right, the more resistance you face? The moment you decide to pray more, distractions arise. The moment you commit to living righteously, temptations increase. The moment you take a step of faith, obstacles appear out of nowhere. This is not random. It is a sign that you are being tested before your breakthrough. In the book of Exodus, when Moses went to Pharaoh to declare God's will, the oppression of the Israelites increased. They were told to make bricks without straw, and their suffering became even worse. But why? Because their deliverance was near. The enemy fights hardest when he knows freedom is coming. The devil does not waste time attacking those who are not a threat. The fact that you are facing unusual opposition is proof that you are on the right path. The test of opposition is designed to see whether you will stand firm in the face of resistance or retreat out of fear. God allows battles before breakthroughs because warfare is the process that strengthens you for the blessing. David had to face Goliath before becoming king. Joseph had to endure false accusations before stepping into his destiny. Jesus had to go through the cross before the resurrection. Many people quit right at the edge of their breakthrough because they misunderstand the test. They assume that resistance means they are doing something wrong, but the truth is that resistance is confirmation that they are getting closer. The enemy will not fight what does not threaten him. If you are facing unusual attacks, it means there is something on your life that hell is trying to stop. The key to overcoming opposition is endurance. The enemy wants to wear you down, but you must refuse to give up. When attacks increase, let your faith increase. When resistance rises, let your prayers intensify. The battle is not assigned to quit, it is assigned to push forward. Your breakthrough is not beyond your reach, it is just beyond this battle. Stand firm, and you will see the victory of the Lord. When God seems silent and your prayers go unanswered. One of the most difficult tests a believer can face is the silence of God. Have you ever prayed and felt like heaven was closed? Have you ever sought direction but received no answer? Have you ever cried out in desperation only to be met with silence? This is not a sign that God has abandoned you. It is a test of faith. There are seasons when God deliberately hides his voice, not because he is absent, but because he wants to see if you will trust him even when you cannot hear him. Think of Jesus on the cross, crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Even the Son of God experienced a moment where the Father seemed silent. But was God truly absent? No, he was watching, waiting, and allowing the test to be completed. The test of silence is a test of trust. When you cannot hear God, will you still follow him? When he seems distant, will you still believe? The teacher is always silent during the test because he wants to see what you have learned. God is testing whether your faith is based on feelings or on his unchanging nature. Many people walk away from God in silent seasons because they think his silence means rejection. But what if his silence is actually preparation? What if God is training you to trust him beyond what you see or feel? True faith is not just believing when you hear his voice. It is standing firm even when you do not. If you are in a silent season, do not give up. Keep praying, keep worshiping, and keep believing. God has not left you. He is watching to see if you will endure. And when the test is over, the silence will break and you will step into the breakthrough he has prepared for you. When you are being stretched beyond your limits, ladies and gentlemen, one of the clearest signs that God is testing you before a breakthrough is when you feel stretched beyond what you think you can handle. Have you ever felt like God is asking more from you than you have the capacity to give? Have you ever felt like your strength is running out, yet the challenges keep coming? This is a divine test. God stretches us before promotion because He knows that where He is taking us requires more strength, more faith, and more endurance than where we are. Think of a slingshot. The further it is pulled back, the greater the force when it is released. Some of you feel like you are being pulled back. But what you do not realize is that God is setting you up for a greater launch. The process of stretching is uncomfortable. It demands more faith, more patience, and more sacrifice. Abraham was stretched when God asked him to sacrifice Isaac. Moses was stretched when he had to lead an entire nation through the wilderness. Esther was stretched when she had to risk her life for her people. But in each case, the stretching was necessary for the assignment ahead. Many people fail this test because they assume discomfort means they are outside of God's will. But what if discomfort is proof that you are right where you need to be? What if the stretching is God's way of increasing your capacity? If you are being stretched, do not resist. Surrender. God is enlarging you so that when the breakthrough comes, you will have the strength to sustain it. This test is not meant to break you, it is meant to prepare you. The pain of stretching today is the power of victory tomorrow. Endure the stretching, because your breakthrough will require everything that God is developing in you right now. When God asks you to let go of something precious, the final test before a breakthrough is often the hardest. The test of surrender. Have you ever been in a season where God asks you to release something you love? It could be a relationship, a job, a dream, or a plan you have held onto for years. It is one of the most painful tests, yet it is the one that brings the greatest reward. Before God blesses you with something greater, He often asks you to release what you are currently holding onto. Abraham had to release Isaac. The disciples had to leave their nets. The rich young ruler was asked to give up his wealth. Why? Because God will never allow you to hold on to something that competes with Him. The test of surrender reveals where your true trust lies. Do you trust God enough to let go of what is in your hands, believing that He has something better? Many people fail this test because they cling to what is familiar, afraid of what they might lose. But true faith says, God, I trust you even when I do not understand. God's blessings are always greater than what we let go of, but He will not give you more until you prove that He is more important than what you are holding onto. The test of surrender is the final step before breakthrough. When you pass it, you step into a blessing that is beyond what you ever imagined. If God is asking you to let go of something, do not hesitate. Trust Him. What He has for you is greater than anything you are afraid to release. Let go and step into the breakthrough He has prepared for you. Ladies and gentlemen, every test before a breakthrough is a divine setup for your elevation. The challenges you are facing are not to destroy you, they are to prepare you. If you are in a season where everything seems wrong, where doors keep closing, where you feel alone, attacked, stretched, or asked to surrender, know this: your breakthrough is near. God does not waste pain. He does not allow tests without purpose. Every difficulty is part of his divine process to refine you, strengthen you, and position you for greater. Do not quit. Do not lose faith. Hold on, endure the process, and trust that what is coming is far greater than what you are going through. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Stay faithful and watch what God will do.